The fluorescent lights of the conference room felt like spotlights on Finn's soul as his boss held up the blurry photo of him and Elias kissing at the holiday party. "Finn, do you have anything to say about this, Mr.?" Harlan demanded, voice low but sharp enough to slice through the sudden silence. Finn's mouth went dry, his heart hammering against his ribs like it wanted out. Instead of reaching for the man he loved who stood right there beside him, he shook his head and whispered, "It's nothing, sir. Just a mistake." The look in Elias's eyes as he turned and walked out the door shattered everything between them. Finn had just lost the only person who ever saw the real him. He stood frozen while the rest of the team pretended to study their notebooks. The photo had leaked from someone's phone at the firm's annual event 2 nights earlier, making the rounds first through the office Slack and now, apparently, straight to management. Elias had been so happy that night, pulling Finn into the shadowed hallway near the coat check with a laugh that still echoed in Finn's memory. "Just for a second," Elias had said, his dark eyes sparkling under the string lights. Finn had given in, letting himself feel the warmth of those arms around him, the way Elias's fingers traced the back of his neck like he was memorizing every inch. For one stolen moment, the world outside the firm's glass walls had disappeared. Then the flash of a camera phone had ruined it all. Finn drove home through Chicago's slushy streets that afternoon, the city's skyline blurring past his windshield like a half-remembered dream. His small apartment in Lincoln Park felt colder than usual when he stepped inside. The walls still carried faint traces of Elias's cologne from the last time they had stayed up talking until dawn about everything and nothing. 2 years ago, they had met at a gallery opening downtown. Elias, the passionate graphic designer with paint on his jeans and ideas that lit up rooms, had bumped into Finn while reaching for the same glass of wine. Their conversation had flowed so easily that night, moving from client campaigns to favorite books to the quiet fears they both carried. Finn had grown up in a strict Catholic family in a small Illinois town where being different was never discussed, only prayed away. Elias had come from California, where his parents had thrown him a coming-out party with balloons and cake. The contrast had drawn them together like magnets. At first, it was late-night brainstorming sessions that turned into shared dinners. Then came the secret weekends at Elias's Wicker Park studio, where they could be themselves without the weight of the world watching. Finn cherished those moments more than he could admit. Walking along Lake Michigan at dusk, Elias's hand brushing his when no one was looking, quiet talks about dreams and the future. But always the fear loomed. Finn's family still expected him to settle down with a nice girl, carry on the family name, attend Sunday Mass without fail. His father's disappointed stare from years ago when a high school rumor had surfaced still haunted him. "It's just a phase," his dad had said then. Finn had learned to bury everything deep. Until Elias. Now the burial had collapsed. Finn's phone buzzed with a text from his mother. "We need to talk. Your brother saw the picture too." He didn't answer. Instead, he sat on the edge of his bed replaying the conference room scene. Elias's shoulders had stiffened, his usual easy smile replaced by something raw and broken. Finn had wanted to call out, to grab his hand and say the words that would fix it all. But the words never came. The silence had spoken for him. By evening, Elias's number went straight to voicemail. Finn left a message he knew would go unheard. "Hey, it's me. We need to talk about this." No response came. The quiet stretched into the night, heavier than any argument could ever be. The next morning, Finn tried to focus at his desk, but the whispers around the water cooler followed him everywhere. Colleagues offered awkward smiles and quick excuses to leave conversations. Mr. Harlan had already pulled him aside again for a vague, HR sensitivity reminder about professionalism. Finn kept his head down, answering emails and pretending the world wasn't cracking open beneath his feet. Inside, the guilt gnawed like acid. Elias had always been the brave one, gently pushing for more openness, for a life without shadows. Finn had held back, terrified of the fallout. Now that fallout had arrived, and he had done nothing to shield the man who meant everything. That afternoon, Finn drove to Elias's apartment on impulse. The door opened after the third knock. Elias stood there, eyes tired, a suitcase half-packed visible in the hallway behind him. "What do you want, Finn?" The question landed like a punch. Finn reached for words that felt too small. "I messed up. The meeting with Harlan. I panicked. Elias gave a bitter laugh that didn't reach his eyes. Panicked? You told him it was nothing. Like what we have is some kind of joke. I needed you to stand up for us, for me. Just once. Finn stepped forward, but Elias moved back. I thought you were ready. I can't keep being your secret. It hurts too much. The door closed softly, final as a period at the end of their story. Finn stood in the hallway alone, the weight of his choices pressing down until breathing became a conscious effort. He had always believed love would be enough. In that moment, he understood protection wasn't just a feeling, it was a choice. And he had failed to make it. Finn spent the next week moving through his days like a ghost in his own life. The office felt smaller, the fluorescent lights harsher, every corner reminding him of Elias's empty desk now occupied by a temp who asked too many questions. Colleagues who once invited him to happy hour now found reasons to look the other way. The rumor mill had done its work, painting Finn as the closeted guy who couldn't even own his own truth. He threw himself into campaigns for local clients, staying late to avoid the empty apartment and the unanswered texts he kept sending anyway. Each one read the same. Please let me explain. None received a reply. His best friend Marcus noticed the change immediately. They met for beers at their usual spot near Wrigley Field on Friday night, the bar loud with Cubs fans celebrating a rare win. Marcus, a loyal straight ally who had known about Finn and Elias from the beginning, slid a pint across the table and cut straight to it. You look like hell, man. What happened? Finn stared into the foam, the words spilling out in a rush. The photo, the conference room denial, Elias walking away. Marcus listened without interrupting, then set his glass down hard. You let him walk out? After everything? Dude, you've been hiding for years. Elias was the one thing that made you light up. And you chose the safe route again. The truth stung because it was accurate. Finn tried to defend himself. My family, the firm, you don't know what it's like. Marcus shook his head. I don't. But I know what it looks like when someone loses the person who matters most because fear won. The weekend brought the family dinner Finn had been dreading. His parents' suburban house in Naperville smelled of pot roast and tension. His mother hugged him too tightly, eyes red from crying. His father sat at the head of the table, jaw set like stone. His brother Jake, the successful lawyer, arrived with his wife and their perfect toddler. Conversation stayed surface level until dessert, when his mother finally asked, "That picture, Finn, was it real?" Finn felt every eye on him. He opened his mouth to repeat the lie from the office, but the words caught. Instead, he muttered, "It was complicated." Jake snorted. Complicated? Mom's been praying for your soul all week. The room filled with the weight of expectations Finn had carried since childhood. Church every Sunday, family values, the unspoken rule that boys grew up to marry girls and give grandkids. He excused himself early, driving back to the city with his mother's parting words echoing. We just want what's best for you, honey. The right path. Monday brought more silence from Elias. Finn checked social media obsessively, seeing Elias had posted a single story from what looked like a new studio space. No caption, just an empty canvas. The image twisted something deep in Finn's chest. He remembered their first real date, a picnic in Grant Park where Elias had sketched him while the sun set over the lake. You don't have to hide with me, Elias had said softly. Finn had kissed him then, believing for one perfect hour that maybe he didn't. Now that belief felt like a lie he had told himself. Work pressure mounted when a major client requested Finn personally oversee a campaign rebrand. The project demanded long hours and client dinners where conversation inevitably turned personal. One evening at a steakhouse downtown, the client, an older conservative businessman, asked about family. Finn gave the practiced answer about being single. The man clapped him on the back. Smart. Keeps the focus where it belongs. Finn smiled through the nausea. Later that night, he sat on his balcony overlooking the city lights, scrolling through old photos of him and Elias at the Art Institute, laughing in front of a Picasso. The memories felt like another life. By the end of the week, Marcus dragged him to a support group meeting at a community center on the north side. Finn sat in the back row listening to strangers share stories of coming out and the losses that followed. One man spoke about losing his partner because he couldn't stand up in front of his family. The parallel hit too close. On the drive home, Marcus said quietly, "You still have time to fix this. But you have to choose, Finn. him or the closet. You can't have both. Finn wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. That night he lay awake staring at the ceiling, the psychological weight of his choices pressing down until sleep finally claimed him. The regret had begun to change him, slowly, painfully, into someone who could no longer pretend everything was fine. The spiral deepened as winter settled over Chicago with its gray skies and biting wind. Finn started seeing a therapist recommended by the support group, a kind woman named Dr. Patel who listened without judgment. In their first session, he described the conference room moment in detail, the way Elias's shoulders had dropped like the world had fallen on them. Dr. Patel asked gently, "What stopped you from defending him?" Finn had no answer that didn't sound like an excuse. The sessions forced him to confront the layers of fear built over decades, the childhood sermons, the high school bullying he had laughed off, the family photos on the mantle showing only the normal version of himself. Each revelation peeled back another layer, leaving him raw and exhausted. A misunderstanding with Marcus added to the pain. They argued one evening after too many beers when Marcus pushed too hard. "You're letting your family run your life, even now." Finn snapped back. "You don't get it. They're all I have left." Marcus left angry, saying he couldn't watch Finn self-destruct anymore. The rift with his best friend felt like another door slamming shut. Finn spent the weekend alone, replaying every choice that had led to this isolation. Then came the partial secret reveal to his sister Claire, the only family member he thought might understand. She visited unannounced one Saturday, bringing coffee and concern. Over bagels at his kitchen table, Finn told her the truth. Elias wasn't just a friend. He was everything. Claire's eyes widened, but she didn't pull away. She listened as he described the love, the fear, the denial that had cost him the relationship. For a moment, hope flickered. But when she asked if he had told their parents, Finn shook his head. "I can't. Dad would never accept it." Claire sighed. "Then you're still hiding, Finn." And hiding is what drove Elias away. Her words lingered long after she left. The turning point arrived unexpectedly during a late-night work deadline. Alone in the office, Finn stared at a campaign mock-up featuring a diverse family. The image triggered something deep. He realized he couldn't keep living this half-life. The decision to stop hiding formed slowly but firmly. He drafted an email to Elias explaining everything, pouring out the regret, the therapy, the growing understanding that protection meant standing up even when it terrified him. He didn't send it yet. Instead, he saved it as a promise to himself. Family tension exploded the following Sunday at dinner. His father had heard rumors through church friends about the situation at work. The confrontation was swift and painful. "Is this true, son? Are you that way?" Finn sat silent at first, the old fear rising. But something had shifted. He met his father's gaze. "Dad, I'm gay. And Elias was the best thing that ever happened to me. I lost him because I was too scared to say it out loud." The table went still. His mother cried quietly. His brother left early. His father simply said, "We'll pray for you." The words hurt, but for the first time Finn didn't flinch. He had taken the first real step toward the man he wanted to become. That night he sent the email to Elias. It bounced back as undeliverable. Elias had changed his address. The realization hit like a wave. Elias had truly moved on. Finn sat on his couch in the dark, the city humming outside, and let himself feel the full weight of the loss. The psychological consequences of his inaction had reshaped his entire world. But in the ashes of that world, a quiet determination began to grow. He would find Elias. He would show the change. Even if it was too late, he owed it to both of them to try. Finn threw himself into the search with the same focus he once reserved for campaigns. Social media yielded clues. Elias had moved to New York, posting occasional stories from a new studio in Brooklyn. The images showed bright canvases and city skylines, no mention of anyone new. Finn booked a flight for the following weekend, telling work it was personal leave. The decision felt like the first truly brave thing he had done in years. In New York, the energy of the city both energized and overwhelmed him. He wandered Brooklyn streets, heart racing every time he saw someone with Elias's build. On the third day, he spotted a familiar figure through a coffee shop window near the studio. Elias sat alone at a corner table, sketching. Finn's breath caught. He waited outside until Elias emerged, then stepped forward. Elias. The name came out softer than intended. Elias turned, eyes widening in shock, then narrowing in pain. Finn, what are you doing here? They walked to a nearby park, the conversation starting halting and careful. Finn poured out the therapy sessions, the family confrontation, the email that never reached. Elias listened, arms crossed, the winter wind tugging at his scarf. You finally said the words to your dad. That's good. But it doesn't change what happened in that conference room. I needed you then, not months later. Finn nodded, accepting the truth. I know. I failed you. The fear won that day. But I'm not the same person anymore. They spent the afternoon talking through the misunderstandings that had piled up. Elias described the weeks after leaving Chicago, the job offer in New York, the decision to start fresh, the nights he had stared at his phone waiting for Finn to fight for them. The pain was still fresh, but so was the growth. Elias had begun volunteering at an LGBTQ youth center, helping kids navigate their own journeys of acceptance. I realized I couldn't keep waiting for someone else to protect me. I had to protect myself. The words landed with quiet power. That evening they shared dinner at a small Italian place in Williamsburg. No pressure, just honest conversation. Finn saw the changes in Elias too, the confidence, the peace that came from choosing himself. As they parted outside the restaurant, Elias said softly, I'm glad you came. Really? But I can't go back to being the secret. I deserve more. Finn didn't argue. He simply nodded and watched Elias walk away into the night, the city lights reflecting off wet pavement like scattered stars. The sacrifice Elias had made by leaving had forced Finn to grow. Now Finn understood the cost of silence. Back in his hotel room, Finn called his sister Claire. He told her everything. For the first time, she said the words he needed to hear. I'm proud of you. The call ended with tears on both ends, but they were different tears, cathartic rather than despairing. Finn returned to Chicago the next day, carrying a new clarity. The search for Elias had not ended in reunion, but it had ended in understanding. The journey of self-discovery was far from over, but the path ahead felt possible for the first time. The weeks after New York stretched into a quiet transformation. Finn came out fully at work during a team meeting, the words steady despite the pounding heart. Mr. Harlan blinked, then offered a simple, thank you for trusting us with that. The response surprised Finn, opening doors he hadn't known existed. Colleagues who had whispered now asked genuine questions. Some shared their own stories. The isolation began to lift. Family dynamics shifted slowly. His mother started calling more often, awkward but trying. His father remained distant, but one Sunday invited Finn to a quiet walk after church. I don't understand it, he said, but you're still my son. It wasn't acceptance, not yet, but it was a crack in the wall. Finn took it as the beginning. His brother Jake eventually texted a short message. Miss having you around. Small steps, but each one built the foundation Finn needed. Marcus returned to the friendship after a long talk over pizza. You did the hard thing, he said. I'm here for whatever comes next. Their bond strengthened through the honesty. Finn started volunteering at the same type of youth center Elias had mentioned, mentoring kids who reminded him of his younger self. The work gave purpose to the pain. One evening, a text from an unknown New York number arrived. It was Elias. Saw your LinkedIn update. Proud of you for coming out at work. Hope you're doing okay. Finn stared at the screen for a long time before replying. Thank you. The therapy helped. I'm still learning every day. The conversation stayed light, careful, but the connection felt different. No expectations, just two people who had once loved each other now walking parallel paths. The emotional climax built slowly during a solo trip Finn took to the lake house his family owned. Sitting on the dock at sunset, he finally allowed himself to grieve fully. Tears came for the love lost, for the years spent hiding, for the man he had become through the suffering. In that quiet moment, the truth settled deep. Protection started with protecting himself first. The sacrifice of letting Elias go had been necessary for both their growth. Back in Chicago, Finn threw himself into a new campaign that celebrated diversity. The work felt authentic for the first time. When a client asked about his personal life during a pitch, Finn answered honestly. I'm gay, and I'm proud of it. The room didn't flinch. The victory was small but profound. Elias texted again weeks later with a photo of a new painting. Inspired by our talks. Finn smiled at the image of two figures walking separate roads that still somehow pointed toward the same horizon. He replied simply, "Beautiful. Keep creating." The exchange carried no pain this time, only quiet respect. The journey had changed both of them. Finn understood now that love sometimes meant releasing someone so they could find their own light. Finn stood on the rooftop of his building one crisp spring evening, the Chicago skyline glowing under a full moon. Months had passed since the last text from Elias, yet the lessons remained vivid. He had come out completely to his entire family during a tense but honest dinner. His father had listened without interrupting, eyes glistening. "It's going to take time," he said afterward, "but I'm trying." Those words meant more than Finn could express. His mother baked his favorite cookies and left them on his doorstep with a note. "Love you no matter what." Small gestures, but they healed old wounds. The loyal friendship with Marcus had become a cornerstone. They hiked the Indiana dunes on weekends, talking about life and growth. Marcus had even started dating someone new and invited Finn to double dates as the supportive friend. The normalcy felt like a gift. At the youth center, Finn mentored a teenager named Alex who struggled with the same fears Finn once carried. Watching Alex gain confidence mirrored Finn's own journey, reinforcing that his pain had purpose. One afternoon, an email arrived from Elias. "I'm visiting Chicago next month for a gallery show. Would love to catch up if you're free." Finn's heart stirred, but didn't race with panic. He replied yes. They met at the same gallery where they had first connected years earlier. Elias looked lighter, happier. They walked through the exhibits, conversation flowing easily about art, work, life in two cities. No recriminations, only shared history and mutual respect. At the end, Elias hugged him. "I'm glad you found your voice, Finn. You deserve this peace." Finn smiled. "So do you." They parted as friends, the romantic chapter closed but the human connection enduring. Finn returned home that night and opened his laptop. He wrote the final entry in the journal Dr. Patel had suggested keeping. "I once thought love meant hiding to protect others. Now I know true love starts with the courage to protect the truth inside yourself." The entry felt like closing a circle. Months later, Finn stood at a pride event downtown, rainbow flags waving in the breeze. He marched with the youth center group, Alex beside him beaming with pride. The experience filled him with a sense of belonging he had never known. That evening, he called his parents and told them about the day. His father's response was simple. "Sounds like you had fun, son." The words carried acceptance in their quiet way. Finn had grown into the man Elias had always believed he could be. The journey of self-discovery, the painful misunderstandings, the betrayal of silence, the sacrifice of letting go, all of it had forged a stronger, more authentic version of himself. He still missed Elias on quiet nights, but the missing no longer defined him. It had taught him the most important lesson. Protection wasn't about shielding someone from the world. It was about standing beside them in it. As the city lights twinkled below his window, Finn smiled at the life he had built. The story wasn't over, but the chapter of hiding had ended forever. True or false? Can love survive if you once failed to protect it from the world?